Good evening, everybody. This is Group B's Glo-bus wrap-up summary. I'm Guido.
I'm Katie.
I'm Brandon.
I'm Hades.
I'm Travis.
Regarding who wrote what part, I started by the presentation by explaining our first half strategy as well as our second half strategy.
I explained if we were a real business, what tactics would we take and who had what roles.
I talked about week-to-week strategy and how we divide our work up.
I talked about the better ways to have the simulation and if we used any online videos to help guys.
I'm going to talk about any other factors over the coming to Glo-bus.
Well, for our first half strategy, I just want to dive into it just a tiny bit, being that we had our mid-game presentation. For years 6 through 9, our strategy was a little bit different. We try to differentiate ourselves by having a low number of models for both our UAV drones as well as our cameras. We focus on having a low assembly cost and components and parts, as well as having low prices for both products. We invested majorly in high advertising as well as a good amount of high warranties for our customers. We invested heavily in research and development towards year 7 through 10, and we paid our employees really well. We invested in them. We invested in their training and development. We gave a nice fringe benefit package. We increased their salaries on a year-to-year basis from a +1% to a +2% in later years. And regarding our benchmarks for both our products, what we try to do was to keep our cost at either our average or a very low average. We never allowed ourselves to be in high when it comes to the components that consisted of both our cameras and drones. And we also wanted to ensure that we spent, again, in advertising. We wanted our products to be out there. We wanted our customers to know about our products, and to be overwhelmed with the advertising both online and direct in our stores. So we invested in marketing at a high level compared to our competitors, and that kind of paid off for us in the long run. For year 6, our total revenues were $395,000, and that gave us a net profit of about $33,452. We ended up being tied for second place, so we started off pretty well. We were happy, we were meeting, and we liked the decisions that we were making. Now for year 7, our total revenues were good and better than the previous year. Our net profit there was $49,902, and that gave us a place of 3rd. We felt that it was due to the amount that we were investing in marketing and also what we were paying on our packs. For year 8, which was our most profitable year, we were very happy about that year. We celebrated and we felt like we made the right moves. We ended up with the highest profit, I believe, of $84,843 for the year, and that ranked us in 1st place. The reason that we felt that resulted in the 1st place is because we introduced a 3rd model for our cameras, and we kept our drones at 2. But our PQ ratings were really high, were really well. They were at 6.1 and 6.2 respectively. For year 9, we kind of made some drastic changes to see what we could get away with. We ended up having a total revenue of $632 and a net profit of $104,183. However, we ended up being in last place. We weren't too happy with that, but we felt that we learned. Every decision that we made and the result that came with that, we felt that we learned something of what we should do, what we shouldn't do, and what contributed to our results, our numbers. Now to dive into the second half strategy, which is why we're here, and we're going to go a little bit into detail, is that we employed a really different or very unique approach. We call it the no consistent competitive strategy. That's what we decided on. We didn't want to follow suit. We thought that our 3 other competitors, they were kind of mimicking each other's decisions. They were really making changes based on what the other company would do. So for example, for prices, they would almost match their increases year to year. We felt that we didn't want to end up coming in that same situation. So we tried to be different. We were increasing our prices higher than everybody, or we were keeping them lower than everybody. And we preferred to reinvent ourselves year to year and just focus on monitoring them and seeing what they were doing in the market share that they were, gaining. Our opportunistic approach to the strategy was not meant to, was meant to like not have the company commit to anything long term. We didn't want to commit to a long-term loans or having the most products or the most models. We wanted to see what everybody was doing and then go from there. It paid off. Eventually, it paid off at the end. However, for years 10 through 12, we were coming in last place. But again, we were learning every single year on what we were going to do to end the game. One of the major things that we could talk about is that we eliminated a lot of the equity that we were gaining. Since we had a high stock price, our shareholders' equity was very high, and in return, our ROE was very high, but our EPS was kind of low. So what we did was we introduced more models, higher advertising, and we invested in our facilities and robots and expansions. We handed out dividends. What ended up being positive, what worked for us? Well, in year 12, we did that same exact thing I just mentioned. We invested in our capital outlays, on robotics, and repurchasing stocks and dividends. What ended up being negative was we probably increased our prices too much, and our image kind of took a slight dip, as well as our PQ ratings. And then regarding the position that we went from and to, for year 9 through 12, like I said, we ended up in last place. But fortunately for us, on year 13, everything that we learned paid off dramatically, and we ended up second place overall with a good amount of net revenue and operating profits. Here is just some details regarding what I spoke about. As you can see, for cameras in year 10 through 12, the PQ ratings went down. We decreased our PQ ratings and the number of models that we introduced to gain a higher amount of market share. Across the board, you can see our average warranties, our promotions, and the number of retailers that were carrying our products. Same for drones. Below, you can see our total sales, and as well as our PQ ratings taking a slight decrease year to year. And the models going from 3 to 2, again, to gain market share.
Okay, so if we were a real business, what different tactics would we take? We said we would research more about Glo-bus because we kind of went in winging it, and then we learned from year to year what differences we can do. So we said I was a CEO, I assigned roles and made sure everyone did their part, and we agreed that Felix was the CFO. He was really the brains behind the operation. He knew a lot about Glo-bus. He was really good with numbers. And we said that Brandon was the CIO. He got us the information from Glo-bus, relayed it to me and Felix, and we'd all break it down together, either if we met or in the group chat we made. And our 2 VPs we said was Haddis and Schwade. We had board meetings constantly, so we would always meet up whenever. And as I said before, we'd have a text message, a group meet put together. So if we had any questions or if we made any changes, we would quickly just send a text in there and confirm with our group members. So if our company was struggling, what other courses would we have considered to survive? We said we would ask other companies what their plans were and what steps they were taking. Staying after class to ask our teacher about what he thinks we should do to do well in Glo-bus, and go to someone for advice with business knowledge and a business background. As far as merging goes, we said we would consider merging, but we didn't really end up needing to because we ended up in second place overall. So changing our overall strategy. We said we wouldn't price our products too high because at the beginning you can see years 6, 7, and 8, 9, and 10 actually, and then 11 for our AC cameras. They were really high, highest overall for all the companies. And then we figured out that wasn't really working so well, so then that's why we ended up decreasing our prices later in the years. And then we would keep our number of models steady and then increase as we progress. Because you can see for the AC number of models, we had 2 for a while, then 3, then 4, then back to 3. And then for the drones, we had 2, 3, and then back to 2. So we would change that up and kind of keep it consistent. And was there more research we could have done to apply towards the game? We said we did well at the beginning, then gradually started to drop to last place, but then ended up at 2nd place, so we were happy with that. We could have looked up tutorials on YouTube, asked friends who did Glo-bus before, and we could have read the guides more thoroughly, because I know we all read them, but it was kind of confusing to